This
And
conference
it is
will
my
now be
honor and
recorded.
privilege to call to order this regular meeting of the Surfside Beach Town Council. Let's start with the invocation from Pastor Oki Landers of the Pine Drive Gospel Church. Is he here? Is he here? Nope. I always look around first.
Yeah.
And I did that, yes.
You do you.
I will do it myself. Heavenly Father, I ask that you bless this proceedings and that you grant us wisdom and guidance, and that this council can work together and make good decisions for the benefit of the town. And I just pray for blessings to this town and our nation as a whole. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. All right, we're now on to item 3, public hearing for ordinance 24-0968, fiscal year 24-25 municipal budget. Are there any comments related to the public hearing? All right, we're then going to move on to motions relating to the agenda. Do we have any motions? All right, item 5, minutes approval. I'd like a motion for approval of the April 18th, 2024 workshop meeting minutes, the May 9th special meeting minutes, and the May 14th regular meeting minutes.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Waltz.
I make a motion that we approve the town council workshop meeting dated April 18th. The town council special meeting minutes dated Thursday, May 9th. And the public hearing 2024 municipal budget, May 23rd minutes. May 14th, hello. Why did it say May?
I'm going to second that motion.
Well, you'll second it anyway? Okay. Thank you. Is there any discussion on the minutes approval? All right, then just a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. We're now on to item 6, public comments. Do we have any public comments related to the agenda items?
How y'all doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
We can't ask any questions.
Raj Schilling. S2 golf cart, 780 Highway 17 South, also a resident down on 220 North Yopon. Wanted to just say a little bit about the Yopon gravel lot parking for the employees. I know that this was passed a couple of meetings ago to go ahead and okay 16 spots down there for employees to park through the business, from the businesses of the E-District. I missed the next meeting, but I guess it was put out, and I know you guys are gonna be chatting about it a little bit, but for how it was gonna be determined who got the spots. There's only 16 available. There's quite a few businesses down there, and I understand that you guys voted first come, first serve. Now, I think we probably could have done a little bit better job than first come, first serve if we didn't notify all the companies at the exact same time what was gonna be available. I'm part of the parking committee. I serve on that. And we had discussed making sure that we put notice out to all of them that they were gonna be available and how many they'd like to have. So we did our due diligence. We went out, we got those sheets, came back to find out that a couple of the businesses had been notified ahead of time and got to get their first come, first served passes. And they took, you know, what they desired, but it'll be leaving other businesses down there short. And I think it needs to be looked at to say, okay, first of all, how big is the business, and whatever algorithm or unit of measure you guys want to use to determine what that is, I'm okay with, as long as it's fair. There's a lot of businesses down there and only 16 spots. So either give more spots or determine how many each business is gonna get. How do you determine that? Is it by the number of employees that they have? If a company or a business only has 6 employees, should all 6 spots be given to them? When another business maybe has 20 or 25 employees? It's not an easy question to answer, I get that, but I think it needs to be talked about and maybe dove into a little bit deeper than just first come, first serve. Because people are gonna miss out. They all pay taxes. The bigger, more successful businesses may pay more than the smaller ones. And it needs to be looked at. There's only 16 spots available, and I think that it's fair to say, let's make it fair.
Thank you. Any other public comments? All right, then I'm going to move on to item number 7, communications, and we'll start with the administrator report. Administrator Vincent.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, members of council, good evening. First, just a couple of communications. Staff has revived a couple of programs internally. First, we have a wellness program that began with a staff participated committee. A survey has been sent out to all of our employees, asking several questions about their mental and physical well-being. In addition, scheduled webinars will be available to employees for educational purposes, and possibly a lunch and learn group setting to discuss good habits. Secondly, a safety committee was revived to make available safety videos and demonstrations for employees to perform their duties in a safe and effective manner. Both of these programs will help to reduce the town's medical insurance rates and our liability insurance rates with the Municipal Association of South Carolina. Secondly, I know I've mentioned 2 new employees. First is Heather Garrison, who is going to be our new planning director, and the update is she will start June the 4th. Secondly, Sonia Steigerwald will also begin her duties as a human resource specialist and risk management manager starting tomorrow. And then also there will be a meet and greet at Town Hall at 11 a.m. Thirdly, staff has begun conducting inspections with the town's public utilities. Thus far, Huckabee Park and the Civic Center both have substantial repairs in all areas of structural, electrical, and plumbing. Once we complete with the inspections, I will call for a workshop to discuss with town council how to proceed. And lastly, as we all know, Perry's Bait and Tackle, one of our tenants on the pier, officially opened last Thursday on May the 23rd.
All right, thank you, sir. Do we have any questions for Mr. Vincent? Okay, I got a couple. The wellness program, is that voluntary?
It's voluntary.
Okay. The safety's not, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we've spoken before about Huckabee and the Civic Center. And, you know, I just want to say that I think it's another case where we've neglected some responsibilities, and I think we're going to pay the price for this. So I hope it's not a huge deal, but this is why I wanted a 1-year contract with the Youth Association, because we need to possibly make some hard decisions about what we're going to do with Huckabee. We'll just leave that for now, but I'm definitely looking forward to a workshop on all these items and Florida Clubhouse as well.
Right.
All right, anything else? Okay, the next item is, we're moving into director's reports. We're gonna start with the fire department report from Chief Nelson. Is Chief Nelson here?
Nope.
Any ideas?
No idea.
Okay. Maybe they got a call, I don't know. Well, let's just move on, and if he is able to come back in, we'll go from there. So let's move to the police department report with interim Chief Davis.
Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to share a few things out of our April report for you. We had some citation information, ordinance citations, warning citations, and then traffic citations as well. I sent out in the report and some arrest data for April of this year. Did anybody have any questions on that? So some personnel actions of note, Officer Nicole Frontera resigned back in April to join another agency down near Charleston. Lieutenant Wes Howe resigned, and Detective Michael Bishop rejoined us after transitioning back from a local department. And we celebrated the arrival of Mr. Michael Shanley, Jason Powell, and Robert Blair in our beach services division. We were glad to get them, and they've been doing great. We did continue our in-service hours for officers. Most of that is offered by the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy. Some of that is online. We did continue that through the month of April as well. We had a huge CPR and bloodborne pathogen training for all of our officers and first aid, as well as our beach services folks, trying to maintain that readiness factor for what we might run into on the beach as well, especially with the busy season upon us. Sergeant Pinto successfully completed his LEADA trilogy, which is leadership training during that time. Our evidence technician, Ms. Rose Haddock, successfully completed advanced evidence management training, so she is now applying solo with the evidence work and doing a great job. All of our beach services team members completed their basic orientation. We had some workload and performance thoughts in our report as well. And I had an interesting discussion today with one of our council members, and we kind of looking at how we report back our taskings and our work, with our efficiency numbers and our workload. And I think we're going to incorporate some of what we talked about today. So your next report may look, if it's okay, folks, make it look a little bit differently, but I'm hoping this is going to be a little more informative as to down to the nuts and bolts of what we do. So I'm hoping that would be a welcome. Unfortunately, I will talk about one notable event. Well, a couple. We just finished the motorcycle. Well, I call it motorcycle month for May because we have so many. But we finished it up without too many issues. We did have some wrecks in town. One was pretty serious, but for the most part, we did not have any misbehaviors or craziness as we have seen in the past, as some cities have seen in the past. We did have pretty large crowds from what we saw. A lot of folks had a great turnout yesterday for the golf cart parade. I thought was really good. We got, I guess it was, Bill, how was it last week? In the academy in town? So the week of starting bike week, we got a visit from one of the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy evaluators regarding our Act 218 compliance. Now, this is requirements that are set forth by the state of South Carolina that we have to follow, things that we have to report out on, and data that we have to collect and give back to them. It also includes certain policies and procedures that we must follow at the state mandated level. I'm happy to report that we were found to be within the top 1% of South Carolina police agencies for compliance. So, and I defer much of that effort to my number 2, Lieutenant Bill Nichols. So, very, very pleased with that. We did have some unfortunate news to report, and I know this is for May, but I wanted to go ahead and talk about it tonight if I could. We sunk one of our Kubota beach vehicles on May 16th. Luckily, it was in the last 4 months of its service cycle. We were able to secure a John Deere replacement and we would have gotten it at the same time anyway. We just placed it in his service a little earlier. I would like to thank Mr. Revere and his staff, specifically Chris Bolster, for jumping on this so quickly. He made that happen. John, we really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And that's pretty much what we've got this week. Can I answer any questions you folks might have?
Any questions for Interim Chief Davis?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Stanley?
Yes, Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir.
How many officers are we down right now?
We just talked about it this morning. Give me 1 second. So we're down 6 officers, sir.
6 officers.
Yes, sir.
Is everything going pretty well with them 6 officers missing, or are you pretty tight staffed?
We're tight staffed. We've been making do, but it's been a little tight because, especially with the crowds in the week.
have you had anybody that you've been looking at or thinking about hiring, or have we got any applications for these 6 places?
We've had a gentleman that I understand applied today. I've not seen his application yet. He is a certified officer with another agency. But I hope to see that in the morning. I just learned of that right before we came over to the meeting.
I'm gonna follow this up with a little question here. Are we having a problem with the pay of these officers getting them in? Or is that a problem that we're seeing? Or is it just, we just can't get them?
From our experience, mine and Lieutenant Nichols, and we talked about this at length, pay is a huge issue right now with everybody, especially being behind the 8 ball and our surrounding agencies in the area paying so much money. And we talked about this today, it's just where we're at, and it has presented a significant challenge to us, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anytime, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Coleman. So we're down 6 officers, is that 2, 4, and plus the 2 we froze, is that correct or not?
Yes, sir. That is, that would be down, 3 of our officers and 1 corporal that we just lost. They had to, just left in the first of May,
And then we have 2 we froze.
and 2 frozen, yes, sir.
Okay. Has the problem got worse since Conway has increased his salary?
We lost an officer, a corporal to Conway, yes, sir. We sure did.
So the problem's gotten even worse in the last couple of weeks because of the pay difference.
It has, and I think all of us are sitting on the edge of our seats to see what Horry County and Wilkesboro Beach does.
And all those agencies make more than our
Oh,
people.
yes, sir, considerably.
So, yeah, considerably more.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? Okay, I don't want to jump the gun, but I believe you've been looking at some potential to improve the pay situation, correct?
Yes, sir, we have. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
I don't know.
I know it's preliminary,
Yes,
but
sir. But I,
You're
with
working.
the assistance of our administrator, or guidance of our administrator, with the assistance of our finance director and Lee Mickle, this was his brainchild, and I think it's a good idea. And I'm hoping that we can make it happen.
okay, yeah, I don't want to jump the gun, but I don't want anybody to think we're sitting still.
We've had great support across the board, sir. for that,
Okay.
So thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Interim Chief Davis? Thank you very much.
Thank you for hearing from me. Have a good meeting.
All right, we'll move on to the Public Works Report. Director Adair.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and citizens. The Public Works Report, excuse me, for April of this year. Under our Sanitation Division, our summer R3 rollout program, 3 times a week rollout, began on May 11th. The weights are comparable to last year so far. We've had our final 2 hires, starting in the next couple of weeks. We had a vacancy as a CDL driver and a mechanic vacancy funded by sanitation. And we've gotten both of those filled starting in the next couple of weeks, so the Public Works will be fully staffed at that time, mid-June, I guess. In streets and drainage, beach refuse and recycling services are on a spring schedule. Our townwide mosquito spraying has commenced for the season. The public beach access and shower area at the pier parking lot has had its renovation completed and is now open to the public. The paving project that you all approved at the last meeting, the notice of award was issued. The contracts have been signed by both parties, and the notice to proceed will be issued to the paving company this week. And we will be sending flyers out to the affected roadways as soon as we have a start date for that. In our grounds division, they're still working on the beds on Highway 17, preparing for the season. As you know, the new Fuller Park restroom has been delivered and open to the public on May 3rd. Our crews did plant a crepe myrtle in Harrison Park in conjunction with the Arbor Day celebration. A lot of you were there, thank you. Our fleet maintenance division, in April, our mechanics completed 79 repairs on town's vehicles and equipment. Additionally, 21 vehicles received preventive maintenance. In our pier, our crews are performing critical operation and maintenance activities. All components are being inspected, cleaned, and deficiencies corrected as soon as they happen. As fishing begins now, they will also be monitoring for fishing pass compliance. there's one mistake in here. We did put, when I wrote this report, annual passes were going to be sold at Town Hall. After finding out, once Perry's open, that there's certain taxes that need to be collected on those admissions, that we're not set up to collect those at Town Hall, so all passes will be sold at Perry's, nothing at Town Hall. So that's a little correction to what you have in front of you, which was written before the decision was made. And the camera system from HTC is about 90% installed right now. With the live cam will be linked to our website. And so probably the next 2 weeks or so, we should have all those cameras should be up and running with views for people to look at on the website. And that's really all I have. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Director Adair?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Stanfield?
John, excuse me, it's close. I see that you say you're fully staffed, so you're not having the problem with the pay of your department, of your people. Seems to be pretty equal. You're doing all right with hiring?
Well, it's slow. It's hard to get candidates to apply. You have to be competitive. You know, in the mechanic case, we're not starting at the base pay. We're starting a little higher than that. But it's still lower in the range. But, you know, for the base pay, you can't hire anybody for that, especially for a skilled trade.
So you're having a small amount of problem, not no major problem as the police department may be having, or the fire department may be having. So yours is just a smaller problem.
I would say, yeah, it's a problem, but it's not as big as the police, nowhere near.
Well, I was down at the pier this past weekend, and I want to recognize these guys down on the pier are taking great pride in cleaning our pier and doing a great job down there. And if anybody hasn't been down there, you ought to go and see it. So, thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I'll let them know.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Kinker?
John, I have two questions, but the first thing, I want to thank you for the great looking flower baskets that are hanging on they did a wonderful job on those this year. Of course, they did a good job last year, but they really look good.
Thank you. We used to pay a lot of money to have
I know you
a
did.
place do those for us. When we started doing them themselves, I think they look better.
They look so much better. They really do. What I wanted to ask you, and I told you earlier today, we have a couple projects going on. One is we're going to bury power lines on the north side of Ocean Boulevard. Where does that stand?
I heard back from our engineer today. I had asked that question, how close are we? And the response that I got was, they're waiting for the last comments from the utilities on the communications and Sandy Cooper, and they're gonna finalize the spec book for the bid.
Okay.
And once that is done, we should be ready to bid it out, in July.
Okay, and then work will start in the fall to
Yes.
bury, to put
The conduit.
conduit underline, and
Yes.
the next year they'll come back and wire everything.
Yeah, then they pull the wires the second off season and
Okay.
take the poles down.
Okay. Then the second question, I've been asked by a neighbor a couple of times. We have a stormwater,
You got to talk in the microphone, people in the back can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I can't believe they can't hear me. Anyway, stormwater on the north side, especially on 14th Avenue, when will that start?
I'm still waiting. I've had several phone calls and emails to the South Carolina Office of Resiliency, who's
Yeah.
leading the project. Unfortunately, when you accept certain grant money, there's a lot of strings attached. And again, I've said this before, if we had done this without that money, we probably would have been done by now. We certainly would have been done by now, but for the $750,000, it's kind of worth waiting. But that should be bid out like in the next month or so.
Okay.
But our engineers are going back and forth with the state engineers on getting the specs nailed down. And our engineers will be doing the construction observation when it happens, so it gets done the way we want it. But they're running the show at the state level. So as soon as I have any more definitive information, I will forward it to you all.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Craiglock?
John, back to the pay, and I don't know if you know the answer to this or not, but is the pay disparity between the EMS people, the police and fire, between us and the county and Conway and whatnot, is it greater in their sector versus your sector? Because you're you seem to keep your area fully staffed. And if it's pay, you would think they would move on if it was as big a disparity as it is in the police and the fire.
Yeah, well, certainly not as big of a disparity. It is a disparity, no question about it. But it's sort of like a blue collar situation. My employees are a unique breed of people, you know, they're not as looking for, you know, they don't have these opportunities to go someplace for $20,000 more. Because they don't have, you know, the skill set. A lot of police officers have highly credentialed, certified people, and they can work anywhere. So if you can make, you know, $25,000 more, not too far away, I mean, I get it. But most people in my world aren't gonna jump ship for a dollar or two an hour if they're happy.
Thank you.
Anything else for Director Dare? Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you.
All right, let's move on to 7B4, the finance report. Director Gruber.
Good evening. For the month of April, the general fund revenue was $6.7 million and our expenditures was 7.1. Our property tax collection to date was 3.78 million. In April, there were 37 new business license accounts open. 3 were new, 1 was a new rental, 12 contractors, and 21 of town businesses. Under the hospitality collections, we're at 2 million, and local aid tax at 416,000. Accommodations tax is now at 747,000, and we have received our 70,000 for the May budget. That's why that went up this month. For capital projects, the fees through April for the road fees from the county was 142,000 and continues to offset the cost of paving. I was asked by someone why the revenue was higher than the prior year, like 250,000. That is because we received a CTC check this year for 240,000. Stormwater utility, we're still working on that second phase of the drainage projects, and the stormwater collections through April were 469,000. And then the pier fund, the first 2 months for parking, we generated $40,000. Yeah, I wish. The pier expenses to date are 256,000, but the majority of that is from our bond and building insurance. Sanitation fund is $1.2 million in revenues, and expenses are 1 million through April. Then under parking, regular parking, we are at 388,000 and 198 in expenditures. I also continuing to include the investment pool on here just so you can see where we're at. And current interest rate is 5.52%. If there's any other questions?
Any questions for Director Gruber?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Waltz?
just a clarification, on this pier parking lot, that's our cut?
Yes.
That's after the
Yes.
split.
Yes, I'm working closely with Pivot to make sure we get everything in the right buckets.
There you go.
So the others are supposed to get with me again this week.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kincaid?
and I'll be honest, this isn't my question. If somebody asked me and I couldn't answer it, every month we report a lot of new business license, et cetera, but we never get rid of it. I mean, there are people that don't renew their license and we don't know the number, you know?
Yeah, I'll talk to Nicole about that, because I'm sure she probably keeps tabs of that,
I think
Yeah.
it'd be interesting for us to know
how many are gone.
the coming and going.
Okay. We can do that.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Anything else for Director Gruber? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to item 5, communications and events report from Tabitha Mall.
Good evening, everyone. All right, so the first thing under communications is our continued SurfsideBeach.org and Visit Surfside Beach pages that we are continuing to update and upgrade. That's a continual thing. You'll see that every time we meet. The archive pages that were asked to be put on the website has been completed. So exciting about that. You can go all the way back to 2009, look at anything you want to look at from a historical perspective. Our tours and advertisements, again, continue to drive traffic. It would be overwhelming to you guys to hear how many phone calls I get every day about, oh my gosh, this is what I saw in the paper, is this still going on? So I'm loving those moving parts there. The next edition of the quarterly newsletter will be delivered in July. It's also posted on the website. So if anyone ever asks you, it's always on the website and it's under quarterly newsletter. Our social media net followers, again, we're up 277%, but I'm very happy to announce that we are now at 33,000 followers on our town page. Pretty epic. So excited about that. Also excited that we have new hats and stickers that are now available in Town Hall to purchase for merchandise. And the big news is our adorable 4th of July t-shirts are out there and open. And Ruby, wherever you are, I know you're here. I'm sorry I did not bring those tonight. So they're there. They're on Facebook. They're on the Town of Surfside Beach web page. So it's www.surfsidebeach.org, and it's under services, and then it's town merchandise. So you can look at anything you want to on there. Everything's up to date there. The Myrtle Beach Chamber of Commerce, Myrtle Beach Chamber Partnership continues. Again, that peer campaign of driving people to the E-District, to the town period, and to the pier is going just as planned. So that continues to go on weekly. The partnerships with the Grand Strand PIOs and Coastal Carolina University, those also continue. So we're good there. Under events, we held the ribbon cutting ceremony for the Boho Teak, which was on May 2nd. The Anything But Barbecue Festival was Friday, May 3rd. And then the barbecue festival itself was, of course, May 4th, that Saturday. I will just say, I feel like it was a great success and we had a good time both nights. Our live music in Memorial Park continues to grow. We had probably close to 200 people this past Sunday. And people are truly being driven to that area. So we're excited to see how much that can grow even further. And again, I'm also looking at this from an outside perspective to the drawing 50-mile plus people coming in from all levels for that event, and another event to draw in. So it might be, not a singular event, but it would be, put together with other things going on in town. Just one more offering to visit Surfside Beach, South Carolina. Let's see, we've got the reception for Larry Carter was held on May 17th. That was a great success. The Whirl 1000 at the Holiday Inn Oceanfront Resort, Surfside Beach. That was really fun. The only letdown of that was it was super late when those guys came in on the first night. So I think the first one got in around midnight and then it kind of went until 4 o'clock in the morning. So, but the next day with the breakfast and the send off was a huge success. People were coming up to me and just really excited about having that event and what that looks like go forward. So that is again in 2 years. So we're already starting to plan for that. The ribbon cutting ceremony for the Salty Mermaid was Friday the 24th. The Memorial Day Golf Cart Parade held this past weekend was pretty awesome. A big success there. And of course the service was amazing. And that was also on Facebook Live. So everything there, if you missed it, it's on our Facebook page. Super excited about the Hula and Fire events that are coming up on June the 10th. And those will be held at the pier. So we're gonna see how that goes with the pier, having those there. I just think it's cool to have the hula show at the pier. It just makes sense to me. And then plans are underway for the 4th of July festival, and that's gonna be held on, of course, the 4th of July from 5 to 8 PM in Memorial Park. And to answer everybody's question that is being asked, there will not be fireworks on the 4th of July. So that's the question that I'm getting the most of from phone calls and emails and so forth. So that's all I have. If you have any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Hall?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Walls?
just wanted to clarify, at the pier or on the pier?
At the pier. It's on the beach next to the south end of the pier. So pier's here, south end on the beach. Yeah, I couldn't do that on the pier.
No, well, I just wondered if that.
I know, fire on the pier.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Coleman?
with the hula show, I heard that you were possibly having problems with the changing area. Is that true?
Not anymore. So we figured out they can do their wraps underneath the pier on the poles, like right next to where they'll be having the show, and it's secure for them.
The live music Memorial Park?
Yeah.
We have vendors there?
We have one, so it's N&M Concessions. We actually will have them come in whenever they can. But do I have food trucks and stuff? No. We tried that a couple of years ago.
Didn't work?
It didn't make enough money. So one person, like one concession is plenty.
And for events, do you do critiques of it after it?
Oh, start, stop, and continues, always.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because we used to do critiques and you could always make it better
yeah,
by looking at it and seeing different ways. Okay.
absolutely. And I welcome any feedback. Anybody can email me or call me at any time, tmall@surfsidebeach.org, and just give me any input that you'd like. That's everybody, citizens and everyone, so.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Stain?
Mr. Mayor, Tabitha, I talked to you today
Yes, sir.
about doing something on the pier.
Yes, sir.
I'd like for you to kindly give us an update on what you plan, what you're thinking of doing something on the pier to kind of give the public the idea of what might be coming for more drawing people into the pier
Sure.
area.
Yes, sir. And that-
That I'd like for everybody else to hear what we had talked about.
Sure. So we, first of all, I'll start with what it is. So we are going to test having music on the pier. So on the pier, we will like either have a individual, a duo, a trio, or a band on the pier to make sure that it works. So we're gonna do a test first. With that being said, I partnered up with John Adair and Keith Williams to make sure that the compliance issues are there. Do we have what we need, et cetera? Everyone's a go. We're good to go on that. What we would have to do is take, and I don't know if everybody knows, but those benches that are underneath the shelter, they are actually, forgive me or, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're screwed down into the concrete, so they can't be moved. So we're gonna have to look at that from a band's perspective to see what they can do there. The second piece of that is we would have to close fishing for that day or that evening. So what I decided is let's do a 2-hour run. Let's just do a 2-hour event to see what kind of reaction and, who we can draw to that area during that time to see how it goes. The other thing is there is a capacity limit on the pier. So we have to make sure that we don't go over capacity going through those gates to that end of that pier. And that's from Keith Williams.
Do you know what the capacity level is?
I
Did
think
you say?
it's 500 is that?
He's gonna do a calculation.
He's gonna do a calculation. Okay, perfect.
Okay, and one other thing I want to tell you that you done a great job this weekend with the parade and the memorial service. I thought was great, but I want to thank you for getting us back online with some of these back dates of this thing. I appreciate it. Thanks for the work.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Mr. Coleman? Go ahead.
Yeah, since you mentioned about the pier music, what time frame do you think you're gonna think about doing it?
I'm not 100% sure yet. It's gonna depend on the band, that kind of thing. I was thinking about 6 to 8, ish. It might be 7 to 9, I don't know, but, I just wanna look at, kind of think about it a little more to see what would be the appropriate time for that. Cause here's the one thing about me, I don't wanna disappoint. I don't wanna disappoint the residents by not having it, or the tourists by not having it, and then I don't wanna disappoint the fishermen that might be interested in night fishing. So, or, yeah, so when you think about all those moving parts, the time I'll have to really process in my mind and think about what would be the best for everybody. And I'm gonna partner with Perry's too to make sure that we all are aligned. And I'm thinking about having a low tide, so if I have it at a low tide time, then that time would be better suited for the fishermen. So,
And you don't know which night you're thinking of, or just a low tide?
low tide, probably during the week to start as the test, those types of things. And then I've already partnered with several of the realty companies and the hotels where they have, we've created a QR code, and they can just come in and scan it and see what's going on. And I update that all the time for them. So the word would be spread to all the, people in town that are from out of town.
I don't know if you know, the answer to this question, because I'm not sure anymore. Are they allowed to drink beer in the pier, or they're not?
They are. You're allowed to
Can you
drink
bring your own?
alcoholic beverages purchased from the pier. So you cannot bring any alcoholic beverages on, and you cannot take any alcoholic beverages off.
Okay, who's gonna enforce that?
I would assume our sheriff's at Beach Police Department. I don't know.
No,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's someone stationed to do that. Somebody else can take that if you'd like.
Yeah, well, no one's selling alcohol up there
Right.
yet, so it's really.
Right.
That's what I mean, I don't know
Right.
where they even get.
Yeah, we don't, without the restaurants being open, there's no alcohol on the pier right now anyway.
Does Perry sell it? or
No, no, not to my
They could.
knowledge. Yeah, he could, yeah, but not to my knowledge. Yeah, good question, yeah. Of course.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Stamey?
do you have any kind of time frame that you'd like to get this tried to see what, is it gonna be within a month or 2 months or? 3?
Oh, I'm thinking definitely within the month. I think there needs to be ample notice out there, just to kind of, again, not disappoint either party there.
Yeah.
But I definitely within the month.
In June.
Yes, sir.
Thank
you. Of course.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Walls?
coming from the hospitality, is there a best day that perhaps we could use to help traffic downtown? I mean, I don't know if there's a day that we're not busy during the season, but
Right.
is it like Tuesday or Wednesday?
I'd say
that we can help
Wednesday's a
boost-
really good night.
We can help boost business down there?
I do. I think
Okay.
Wednesdays are a really good night. I've even thought about Saturday because that's check-in.
Right.
And, mom, dad are done with I went to the grocery store and then, oh my gosh, I'm dragging the kids through the hotels and getting them checked into the houses and so forth. So I'm thinking that might even be a good night because they can literally just walk down and enjoy the music on the pier with no hassle, They don't have to get in their car and drive anywhere to go have entertainment.
I hope everybody's taking a little notice on this, just in the little conversation, how much you have to take into consideration.
Yes,
Just
sir.
to do the low tide Wednesdays,
Yes,
we appreciate all you do.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Stamey?
I know shouldn't be asking this next question, but I am anyway. Are there any one of the bars in town could they have one of the kiosk places and set up coolers out there at that time and sell beer? Or is that possible? Just out on the pier at that time? Somebody that already has a beer license?
Oh, I understand what you're saying now, yeah. So like, for example, if Chimichanga Llama decided to come up
Yeah.
there and do that, I would have to check with these guys to make sure that's okay, but I don't foresee a problem.
They could pay for a spot, just like a kiosk, and set up a couple coolers with beer in it on that night and see what it does for them.
Yes, sir.
That would be something that could be considered.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that.
Jared, I was, Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Walls?
Jared, I would defer to you, but isn't it facilities that hold the license, not the business like Neil and Pam's can't take their beer license over and do business on our pier?
Mr. Walls,
For instance, it's a kiosk.
Mr. Walls, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it's the business that has the license now.
Good.
It'll be at that loop. Now, what limitations that business has in terms of, you know, short answer is I don't know fully, but,
Well, but sure.
that's right.
Yeah, I'll work on it.
I
I
think
was
the
just
town can
curious.
can allocate for that as an ordinance.
Mr.
You know, in
Mayor.
terms of allowing a business to do it at special events essentially.
Sure, sure. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Kreckler.
I just add, I did research this like a year ago.
Oh,
And yes, they can, but they have to, the business has to apply for a special permit from the state, basically to sell liquor off premises. But it can be done, and it's just a formality basically.
Yeah. You're absolutely right, Mr. Kreckler. So it's the same thing as we do for Celebrate Surfside Beach Festival. Like Brooke has to like file with the state to sell it outside of the bar and, you know, in the property, on the property. rather. Yes, sir. Yeah, thank you.
Be a good thing to look into.
Yes, sir, I'm on it. And I know plenty of people that would be willing to do
I
that.
think I do too.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, I just got a comment that with the archive being complete, you've got a lot more available time.
No.
to look at.
You just heard what you have to go through. I was there all weekend too, so I know what's going on. I did have actually one question. The 7,000 attendees on the barbecue festival, any
Yeah.
idea what that compares to last year?
Yeah, I will tell you, I was shocked about that estimate because this was a makeup day. And, you know, so people in March, that was 10,000 plus people. And for us to have that big of a turnout with 4 festivals on the exact same day, around the exact same time, I was literally shocked and proud. So, yeah, it was pretty big,
But it also shows why we want to keep that in
Oh.
March.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
The rain holds up, we'll have it in March 2025.
Anything else? Thank you, Ms. Model.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, we're now moving on to item 8, business, and the first item A is the first reading of ordinance 24-0968, fiscal year 24-25 municipal budget. Director Gruber. Well, she's got to introduce it, I think.
I have a little slideshow just to kind of show where we are today. The highlights of the budget from all the workshops, everything we've done so far. The budget includes 7 firefighters and 5 part-time firefighters. At the last meeting, instead of 5% COLA for employees, it was voted to give a $3,000 raise to every employee across the board and $1,500 for part-time employees that were 20 hours. I prorated it for those that we budget for less than 20 hours. We also, there was a vote to reinstate the Thanksgiving gift cards. We still have 2 police positions and 1 facility position frozen. And also we are eliminating the deputy chief fire position and repurposing the police captain position to an executive assistant. Also during these months, the departments went back and cut $105,000 out of their budgets. And we are looking at a 4 mil tax increase, which would be 43 to 47 mils, but that is before the rollback reassessment. On the hospitality fund, we have the police and fire moving to the enterprise lease program for vehicles. And we are increasing our transfer from hospitality, $286,000 to cover those new firefighters.
All right, thank you very much. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the 24-25 fiscal year budget, the first reading.
Okay, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve the first reading of the fiscal year 24-25 budget.
For ordinance 24-0968. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Is there any discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kreckler?
I have more to say on this, but first I'd just like to make a motion to remove the $15,000 allocated for a salaries pay step plan study. And if I don't get a second, then I don't have anything more to say, but if we do, I have more to say on the subject.
All right, so you want to make an amended motion to approve the budget as presented with the $15,000 pay study removed?
Right.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it just to open up for discussion.
All right. Mr. Kreckler, continue.
Well, first I'd say that the council should take the department managers and the town administrator's opinion on what should be done and how to spend our tax dollars. But in this particular line item, I believe the town should be able to get the information needed to adjust our salary and our pay and our step plan without much trouble and at a lot less cost. I would even volunteer my time to help get the information gathered to help the board make decisions on this matter. And one piece of information I have learned in my 2.5 years on council is that if it's in the budget, it will get spent. And if 2, 4, 6 months or later that the council decides that we should spend the money for a consultant to conduct a salary pay plan study, we can vote to put the money back in at that time. That's what I have to say.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Coleman?
I know we've gone over this budget numerous times, but the feeling I'm getting is that possibly the police department has an idea how to possibly save a little money and give higher salaries. So I don't think we should vote on this tonight. Because if they come up with something in the next 2 weeks, we can vote on it then. We vote on it tonight, it's gonna have to go 2 more readings because it's gonna be a big difference. And depending on who you talk to about the 95,000 grand opening of the pier, I was told I couldn't do it just on a motion, I had to do it other ways. I really don't want to spend that kind of money on a grand opening of a pier that's going to be open for 6 months already.
I don't think that's part of this year's budget. That's why we can't.
It's rolled over into this year's budget,
But it's still in the 23-24 budget right now.
but it's been rolled over to this budget.
We
So
should,
it's still in
we
this budget.
should do a resolution to
Okay.
change that budget if we needed to.
All right.
So that would have to be a separate item. That's why it's not in, that's all.
I just want to make a comment about what we're looking at for the police. What we're looking at is a neutral budget. We're looking at possibly getting rid of 2 positions to cover an increase for the other positions. So it would be neutral. So it wouldn't change our overall budget.
It possibly might have a little more to do with stuff. I know it's not gonna be, what I'm hearing possibly from a birdie, possibly could be, it's not gonna cost any more than the original money allocated to them.
Correct.
But back onto the issue of the $95,000. I'm still working on it. And I asked Mr. Adair about how much would it cost to do, put showers in, to pave a couple of beach accesses, put a bike rack in, possibly enlarging a couple of beach crossovers. I don't have exact numbers here. I rushed to get here, and if I got all the numbers I had, but it was around 43 to 45,000 to do the whole thing. Beach, pavers, do a shower, do a bike rack, and do the access, around 40. You don't have to do it on everything on one, but, a shower is gonna last 15 years. A pavers, we're gonna all be long gone before that's deteriorated. A bike rack probably lasts about 10 or 15 years, and the beach crossover will probably last 10 years. We're talking about spending $95,000 on something that's gonna last at the most 12 hours to a pier that we already spent about $10 million over what was budgeted for. And honestly, I don't think the majority of this town wants it. They really don't care about having a celebration of a pier that put us in the negative news for the last 6 years and cost us way too much money. It's a great pier. I love the way it turned out. I love the people that use it. But I want to leave it in the back. I don't want to bring it out into the news again. It's enough with this. And there's things you could spend the money on, things that tourists are going to use. It's not going to be a one-shot deal. And if, possibly there are people who on this dais who want it, then come back to me with something that we could possibly compromise and live with. But I really don't want to spend $90,000 on something that we already opened 6 months ago. And, what happens when Surf Diner finally decides they're going to open up their place? Are we going to have another big celebration? That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
And that's fine, but it's not this budget year, that's all. All right, so we have a motion on the table to approve this budget with a reduction of $15,000 for a pay study. Is there any more comment on this budget? First reading.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Stamey.
I guess this will be directed more to Mr. Crickwell than it would be to Mr. Herbert. Are you planning on doing this study yourself?
Not necessarily, but I
Are
could
you
if
gonna
somebody
have-
wants me to.
Are you wanting to do it with other people?
Well,
Or
I
is
would-
it just a single thing that you want to do?
I would prefer that staff get involved with it too, yes. But I could do the letters or the emails or the phone calls if they so wanted me to, because I think a call from a council person would get the same information that anyone else would get. It's all basically FOIA-able information, so there's no reason why you wouldn't get answers.
My next question would be going to Jerry. Jerry, would you have a problem with Mr. Crickwell doing this, helping do this study, or would you prefer as have an expert outside of our council doing this study?
Well, Ms. Greco and I have talked about this along with the mayor at a Thursday meeting, and I'm fine with having a council member as a part of the process. HR will start tomorrow. So, and with, Conway and Georgetown and Horry County, Myrtle Beach already having pay studies conducted, the information will be easily accessible.
Well, that's what.
And that's what we're looking at.
That's what I want to be knowing, that this staff would work along with him if he needed, whatever he needed or what they needed to get along with this instead of having an outside person doing it. Just, I mean, I'd be fine with him doing it or trying that as long as it's fine with you, because you're over all these employees that needs to be dealt with.
Right.
So you would have to be the one that I'm listening to make that choice, make that decision.
The assistance would be appreciated.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Coleman.
what would the study do exactly? Just to find out how much, say, a day laborer works, gets paid in Conway, Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, Georgetown, and every title we have here, and try to find out what the going rate is?
Yes, sir. We'll just look at all the region and job titles, years of service, and pay grades.
You feel that any of these cities or towns would give us a hard time getting that information?
Like Ms. Kreckloff said, it's FOIA-able information, so.
Okay.
Well, I'll just add a comment that MASC, I don't know how they set their distributions, but I got an email about a month ago, and I don't know if you all got it too, but it had a compensation study. And I believe in our area, what was it, Myrtle Beach and North Myrtle Beach participated, Conway didn't, and we didn't. And then I asked Mr. Benson, and it, basically just kind of oversight. I mean, I think we should participate. So there's already some information that's even published. You just read that report you've got for a couple of cities. So it is there. You would only be looking at government employees. You wouldn't try to look at private sector as
I think
well.
it have to be a government.
But if you hired a consultant, they still would stay with only government, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other discussion on this topic? All right, so I'm going to reiterate, we have a motion on the table to approve the first reading of the 2024-25 budget with the elimination of the $15,000 for the pay study. Is there any other discussion? Ms. Medina?
Mr. Kinkin,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
No.
Mr. Krecklo,
Yes.
Mr. Stamey,
Yes.
Mr. Walls,
Yes.
Mayor Kraus.
Yes. Motion carries 5-1. We've passed the first reading of the budget, 24-25.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Staney?
I'd like to make an amendment to the budget on the tax millage rates. I'd like to raise the tax millage rate up to 6 meals instead of 4 meals, with 2 meals, with 2 meals going directly to the emergency departments of our town. Nobody else, that 2 meals could go directly to that purpose.
Is this a parliamentary procedure after we approved it?
Yeah, it's already approved
Well,
now.
I thought we were just approving what he had
No.
said.
No.
We approved an
You approved
amended
the whole
motion.
Budget. That was the
That was a misunderstanding of that. I
I'm
thought we
sorry.
was just approving what we had voted on just then.
right,
It was
but it was a motion to approve the budget and then an amended motion by Mr. Krecklau to take out the $15,000, but approve the budget with the elimination of $15,000. And that's why I restated it.
All right. I get it at the second reading.
That is true. And honestly, I think, even the 15,000 is not a major change. We can discuss that, I guess, at the second reading. But, I mean, a reduction of $15,000, I don't think is a major change. So I think we can proceed with second. But we can have that discussion as we move on. All right, so we're now moving to item 8B, the second reading of ordinance 24-0967, chapter 4, business licenses, permits, and regulations. Can I have a motion on this?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Krecklau?
I make a motion to pass the second reading of ordinance number 24-0967, an ordinance of the town of Surfside Beach to amend certain sections of chapter 4.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Have to do more. All right, I don't hear any. So we'll move to Ms. Medina.
Mr. Kinkin,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Krecklo,
Yes.
Mr. Stamey,
Yes.
Mr. Walls,
Yes.
Mayor Kraus.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. We have passed the second reading of ordinance -24-0967. All right, we're going to move on to item C, the second reading of ordinance 24-0965, chapter 2 administration.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Coleman?
make a motion to approve the second reading of the ordinance 24-0965, chapter 2, administration.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, Ms. Medina?
Mr. Kinkin,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Krecklo,
Yes.
Mr. Stamey,
Yes.
Mr. Walls,
Yes.
Mayor Kraus.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. We have approved the second reading of ordinance 24-0965 on chapter 2 administration. Let's move to item D, annual fishing passes. Perry's Bait and Tackle, Director Adair.
Good evening again, everybody. I have several things on this decision paper. I don't have to get council too deep into the weeds, but these 3 items involve fees, so it was appropriate to bring the council for a determination on these items. The facts are that the council recently approved the recommended fee rates for Perry's Bait and Tackle on daily and 7-day admissions, $2 and $5 respectively. It has come to our attention that they also need to sell our annual passes due to town hall not being set up to collect the various taxes on admissions. So the first item I'd like consensus of council on is to agree to a $10 fee for Perry's to sell our annual fees in addition to the daily and the 7-day. We feel that's way less than 10%, which our previous vendor, the old pier, was getting. And it's a much more expensive pass, so I think $10 is appropriate. So if you want to take these one at a time, we can do these one at a time.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kinkin?
I make a motion that we approve the Perry's selling our annual fishing passes with a fee of $10 per pass.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, I have a question, and I'll have the same question on every one of these. Has the peer committee weighed in on any of this?
No.
Okay. Do you think they should?
Well, they're fee related, so it's coming to council. You know, the Perry's has agreed at $10 that they thought would be a fair amount to handle that sort of business for the town. So I thought it was appropriate to bring to council.
It's fine, I mean,
You know, going to, you know.
yeah, we just have the committees to.
Yeah, if it was,
vet things. So,
it's a sort of procedural stuff. So if you want to take one at a time, you guys could take a vote on the first one, then we go to the next one.
right, no, that's what we're doing. That's true. I just wanted to know if they'd weighed in, that's all. Okay, any other questions, comments?
Mr. Mayor, I
Mr.
would
Wallace.
just like, since you weighed in on the minutes with that, I would like to weigh in the fact that we run our pier, not the pier committee. They're there to assist us with running our pier.
Right, there was no,
Thank you.
anything about them running it. I asked if they were asked for assistance,
Our talent's getting vetted by a committee.
a proposal. All right, is there any other comment or question? Ms. Medina?
Mr. Kinkin,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Crackwell,
Yes.
Mr. Stamey,
Yeah,
Mr. Walls,
Yes.
Mayor Kraus.
I would say no, but motion carries 5-1. All right, item B?
Yes, the council recently voted to set the pier closing hours at 11 p.m. October until March, and 1 a.m. from April to September. It is unlikely that Perry's Bait and Tackle will stay open that late during any part of the year. I believe they're closing now around 9 o'clock. They might potentially close a little bit later than that as we get into the summer, but they sure won't be open until 1 a.m. So the quandary is the people who arrive to fish at the pier after they're closed, is it the council's desire to allow them to fish for free? Which I believe I was told that's the policy of the Garden City Pier. Or do we deny them the opportunity to fish after that certain time? They can't buy a pass. My employees need a way forward on this.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Stanley?
would that not be closing the gate at 1 a.m. and nobody going out there fishing?
We do close the gate at 1 a.m.
Well, how are they gonna get out there to fish? Because you can't get through the gate.
No, I'm
after
talking,
1.
Councilmember Stamey, I'm talking about the time between when Perry's closes to
Oh,
sell
okay.
passes
Okay.
at 9 or 10 and 1 a.m., that 2 or 3 hour period before we close the gate.
Okay.
How do you want to handle those people who show up with a fishing rod? She's not going to stay open until that late.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kinkin?
I'm going to make a motion that we allow fishing during the hours that the pier is open, whether it be 11 a.m., 11 p.m. on October through March, or 1 a.m. April through September. I'm going to tell you the reason why. My dad wouldn't go fishing if he had to pay to go on the pier, but he would go fish anytime the pier was closed.
Okay, so your motion is to allow fishing as long as the pier is open,
Correct.
irrespective of Perry's.
Correct.
Okay. We have a second?
I'll second that, but I'd like to clarify, we're making it,
Start the discussion, go ahead.
we're gonna make it free after operating hours of Perry. Is that what you're basically saying?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so,
That's what you tried to find out.
so you seconded it, but now I think you're suggesting
Well, I'm just.
an amended motion?
Basically, I'm clarifying what Bill said, that it's going to be free after Perry's closed.
All right, I'll accept that. The motion then is that we are allowing fishing during all pier hours and free after Perry's is closed, or whenever Perry's is closed.
So we'll put up signage that fees will not be collected after they close.
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Coleman?
what time is the pier open? 7, 6?
6 right now,
What time is Perry's open?
like 6 or before, they're actually in there, yeah,
So we're only talking about a few hours
At
at
night.
the, at the tail end
that's right,
for free.
that's right.
Thank you.
Any other
I
comments?
guess one more.
Go ahead.
Are we allowed to do that? I'm just saying legally, because they're supposed to have a fishing permit to fish on the pier. If Perry's is closed, we use their fishing permit. So do we get in trouble from, like, I guess DNR or something? They're in charge of that?
No, well, we have a town has a license for the pier. The individual people are paying a pass fee to us, but we hold the license for the pier. So I think whether we charge $1 or $100 is really up to us, or nothing.
Okay.
It's really up to us.
That's all, I just don't want DNR coming down and saying the place that has the permits or monitoring is gone, so you can't have it.
Yeah, I'll clarify it, but I'm pretty sure that they're not gonna really care. But if this is a bit answer different from that, I'll let you all know.
Yeah, because we do have to keep count also.
Yes, we have to send them a count at the end of every month.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Stain?
John, would your people still are until the pier closes, aren't they?
Sure, we're the ones that have to clean up and close the gate.
Why couldn't they be monitoring who's fishing and who's not and taking and giving fish?
We're not set up for the cash register and collecting
Maybe that's
taxes.
what you should do. I mean, that's, you're,
Well,
I know that what you're getting at, and I understand where you're coming from, but why would we want people fishing on the pier if nobody's there selling passes? I mean, that's what it's all about, is for the town to get money back to pay for that pier. And that's one way of getting it. So if we're gonna say they can fish from 10 o'clock, if that's when Perry's closed, to 1 o'clock, you're talking about 3 hours.
I hear where you're coming from, council member, but, we're not talking about a whole great lot of people, at that hour. And I would also say that, the last couple hours of the shift, the people who work up there are busy cleaning the bathrooms and cleaning fishing tables and doing things to prepare to close for the night. And to tie them up, even if we had a register to collect it, to tie them up in a room doing that would prevent that other stuff from getting done in a good way. So I don't know if that's, something we really want to be in the business of, is taking
Well,
money.
I don't know that we want to be in the business of sending somebody out there fishing that don't have a license and fall over the bank, over the side rail and drown, that the town be reliable for them either. So, there are things that can happen to these fishermen once that they do going out there for free. Somebody's going to be responsible for them because they're on our pier.
Oh, sure.
And so if they fall over and drown, and they ain't even got a license, so the town's still liable for them. So, it's just a.
I understand where you're coming from. Until last week, they were just walking out on the pier.
Yeah.
Now they're fishing on the pier.
Yeah.
Right, so the same thing could happen with somebody just walking.
Correct. People have been walking out there,
Right.
for a month and a half.
I had a question, John, just for you, logistically and operationally. These guys are trying to close down and they want to get it spick and span. You know what I'm saying? They want to get it cleaned up. Now you got fishermen hanging out there
That's what I'm saying.
after.
Yeah.
So they're not able to actually complete their duties
So if you let.
by the time you close. So then, I mean, how does that affect you and your team?
If they have to involve themselves with selling fishing passes.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about cleaning the stations that would otherwise be empty
They're gonna have to set
after
up
Perry's
sort of
closed.
like a half an hour before closing, you set up everybody needs to start clearing out of here, we have to close up, and they have to clean.
Okay.
They'll have to set up like a last call situation where it's time to.
So you feel like you could handle it well if we just let them keep going out?
I don't think the amount of people are gonna be significant at that hour fishing, there might be a couple. And we can handle, say, listen, it's time that we have to clean up, so it's time to pack it in, but.
That was my concern.
Yeah, but to take them away from their duties, cleaning up to the end of the day, that's a key responsibility, getting those bathrooms clean, getting all the trash downstairs. I don't know that we want to take them away from that.
But Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Stanley.
But on the same subject, if you've got somebody out there cutting fish up with guts everywhere, they gotta clean that up too.
People do, yeah.
The fishermen wouldn't be doing it.
All right. Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor, just
Mr. Vincent.
hearing the concern, so if the fishermen want to fish between 11 PM and 1 AM, then we can send out a notice saying you need to have your ban, purchase your ban prior to that time. Or we don't have fishing after 11 PM. So it's one or the other.
Well, that was the second option.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's an option, but that's not what we have on the table now. We would have to amend the motion.
Yeah, but we didn't see that.
So I'm gonna make a comment that this is why I would have liked us to go through the peer committee to have a, hashing out, discussing the full picture before it comes here for a vote. That's why we assign committees, so. Any other comments or questions?
I just have one.
Mr. Coleman.
One quick comment. If we're gonna do it for free, we're not getting any money. If we shut it down, we're not getting any money, so that's awesome. It's just it's a goodwill thing. If we have a pier, we're keeping it open till 11. Harry's wants to close at 10 or 11 o'clock. Go right ahead and fish. I mean, I think it's a goodwill thing.
Agreed.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, so we have a motion on the table to allow fishing, free fishing during the hours the pier is open and Perry's is closed.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment to that motion.
Okay?
I'd like to amend it to where they have to purchase their fishing thing until that time of night when we close the pier. When they buy the wristband, just go ahead and pay for that other time that they're going to be out there on the pier, if they want to fish that late at night.
Okay, so then the motion would become not free fishing. We would allow fishing on the pier with a wristband, which is what we're already doing, but it has to be, and you could do it through the hours that the pier is open.
Point of order, man. We have a motion on the table. If it fails, then we have it.
Well, he was trying to amend the motion.
But it's changing the motion.
It is, I'm trying to figure this out, and it is kind of completely changing it as I try to work it. So I'll take that. I think you're right. It's so different, it kind of reverses it, because we're discussing free fishing after Perry's is closed. Yeah. Okay. I think we've got to stick with that. Thank you, Mr. Krecklau.
Can I just suggest something? If someone's going to we get there early enough to buy a wristband while they're still open, why wouldn't they just fish then? Why would you come back at midnight to fish? That's my only concern, or thought.
I suppose they could buy it at 9 o'clock when Perry's closed and then just set it.
And it also would eliminate people like Mr. Kinkin's dad that wouldn't pay. And, let them enjoy a couple hours of fishing at the lake.
Yes, it would change. It would change it completely. So we're gonna stick with the original motion. I think we have to. And we'll just have to vote on that and see if it passes or not. All right. Is that all the discussion? Ms. Medina?
Mr. Kinkin,
No.
Mr. Coleman,
This is for free. I'm so
Yes.
confused.
Okay, I'll restate the motion. It is to allow free fishing on the pier for all hours that Perry's is not open.
I say yes on Mr. Kinkin's farm.
Yeah, I can't believe you said no.
Mr. Craiglaw,
Yes.
Mr. Stamey,
No?
Mr. Walls,
Yes.
Mayor Kraus.
No. So that is 3-3. The motion fails. Now we can entertain another motion if we wish.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we buy wristbands, that they go ahead and buy the wristbands for that period of time, till the pier closes, that they can fish. They buy them at 10 o'clock or 11, 9 o'clock, whatever time period is planning on closing, and doing it that way.
Okay, so the motion would be that the fishing remains open for all hours the pier is open, but you must have a wristband. And so obviously you have to purchase
Only
it
paying
before they close. Yes, only paying customers, yes. But they can fish till the end, till the pier closes. Any additional discussion on that?
I'll second it.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Kinkin. All right, we have a motion and a second. Now is there any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Coleman?
so I'm a shift worker. I work till 11 o'clock. I want to go to the pier and fish. I get there at 5 after 11. I can't fish. I mean, how petty is that? I don't see the problem with letting people use our amenities. I mean, if he was coming 6 o'clock in the morning, he can fish till 1 o'clock at night. We're talking about somebody wants to fish for a couple of hours, and he can't fish because Harry's closes. I don't think it's fair.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Stamey?
That person that wants to fish, if they want to fish that bad, they can purchase it early or go surf fishing. It don't cost nothing to do that.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Kinkin?
as somebody that used to fish a lot on the pier, we used to go down a couple hours before high tide. And so we might fish at 10 in the morning, 12 at night. You know, it just depended on the tides when we went fishing. And so you've got all day, you got 10 hours or 9 hours, whatever the hours are, to buy a pass. If you're coming back at night to fish, you've got all day to buy that license. So I think it's a good move. Not license.
Wristband. Understood, yes. Any other comments or discussion? All right, Ms. Medina?
Mr. Kinkin,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
No,
Mr. Kreckler,
No,
Mr. Stamey,
Yes.
Mr. Walls,
Yes.
Mayor Kraus.
I'm gonna vote no. So we're tied again, 3-3. The motion fails. I'm gonna ask that it go to the pier committee for discussion. I think that we should use our volunteers that have signed up for committees.
All right, I would have to send that to them in the morning, until that time where it comes back to council. I would, my staff has been directed to let people fish for free. I will tell them not to do that now.
Yeah, we have not approved that.
Okay, so if they don't have a paid thing, they cannot fish.
Yeah, we've got to
So
decide if we
further
want to, and how we want to handle it, but yeah.
Okay, that's all we'll handle it.
We have not chosen to do.
I'm just looking for direction.
Yes, sir.
Either way. All right. Third item for consideration is, under the previous wooden pier, and I've had some inquiries about this from staff. The previous wooden pier, each town employee was given an annual fishing pass, for free, one per employee. Not a whole lot took advantage of that. Not everybody fishes. I'd like to get council's consensus on if they want to continue that practice with the new pier or not.
Have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we allow town employees, one per employee, free annual fishing pass.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second for one free fishing pass per town employee. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Freckle?
I have one question, John. How many people do you think actually fish that are employees?
I can tell you for Public Works, with the previous pier, you might have had 5 people who took advantage of it out of 25, 30.
And they probably don't do it a lot.
No.
And my guess is probably most of them come out of your department more than any other.
Yeah, I have a few people who would do it, who would like to fish. I've never done it.
Any other comments or questions? I'll just say this one's small enough, I won't worry about the peer committee. Is there any other comment? Ms. Medina?
Mr. Kinkin?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Krecklo?
Yes.
Mr. Stamey?
Yes.
Mr. Walls?
Yes.
Mayor Kraus?
Yes. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Adair. We are now at item 8E, gravel parking lot, employee parking spaces. Councilmember Kinkin?
As you heard earlier, we have a conundrum with how we decide who gets the last 8 spots. We approved 16, 8 were bought on a first come, first served basis. And we have a request for 18 more spaces and 8 spaces to fill in. There's eight spaces available and we have requests for 18. So, and it involves 4 different restaurants. So I'm gonna make a motion. And I'm gonna tell you right now, it failed in the parking committee. The motion is, but I've got to make a motion so we can talk about it.
Right.
I make a motion that we take the 8 spaces and divide it between the 4 businesses, each getting opportunity to purchase 2. And the process, last year when we started talking about it.
Well, let's get a second.
If I get a second.
So we have a motion that each business gets 2 of the 4 remaining.
I'll second his motion.
Of the 8 remaining. There are 4 businesses and they'll each get 2 for a total of 8.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay.
Now we can discuss.
And Mr. Kinkin, it's your motion. Go ahead.
Okay, so last year when we started talking about this, we did the same process. The parking committee took a survey of all the businesses in the E district. Only 3 responded. And of that, 2 of them have already purchased parking places. The third one has not. He's requested spaces. This year, we passed second reading, and they decided instead of going out before we passed it, they'd wait till we passed because they got burned last year. They talked about it and it didn't happen. So this year they waited till we passed the second reading, did the same thing, took a survey, actually took a paper, handed it to each one of the restaurants and asked them to return it by the 24th of April. Well, it turns out between the 24th of April and last Monday, 8 had been sold out of the 26 that were requested. So now we have 18 requests for 8 spaces and 4 businesses. Just what I just proposed came up in the committee and it got voted down. But they also did not have a solution to bring to council. And after much discussion, I suggested this is going to be a council decision anyway. And if you don't have a recommendation, the council's going to have to come up with a solution. So we stand now, 4 restaurants want 18 spaces and we only have 8. I did the math. You divide 8 by 4, it comes up 2 each.
Good job.
So none of them are going to be happy. None of them are going to be happy.
Mr. Mayor.
Who was that, Mr. Stamey?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question. Are there any way of telling who was the next 8 people or 2 people or whoever happens to be, to tell who the next 2 people or 3 people want these 8 spots instead of going in and dividing them? Because what we discussed was first come, first served. And we can maybe look at it next year to go up and on more if it has to be. But as of now, what we discussed or what we passed was first come, first served. So are there any way of telling who the first was that asked for these spots?
No, because it's,
Please, comments in the back. I can hear noise,
there's,
please.
there was nothing on a timeline on the request that they turned in. Put them out one week, picked them up the next. And between the two times, there's really not a timeline. What happened was Drippy's had been contacting myself and I think you, and we told them that it passed second reading. But I don't remember us actually saying it was a first come, first served basis.
I've got a question myself, or comment, maybe a little of both. I thought when this first came up that you had said the parking committee had surveyed, at least informally, the businesses again, like they had last year. But I believe I heard Mr. Schilling say they didn't do that until after we passed it. That's
That is
what you just
correct.
said.
That is correct.
Okay, somehow when we discussed it before, I could have sworn I heard that that the business had been surveyed and that they responded much the same as last year, no interest. Maybe I confused that, but that's what I thought I heard. I don't know if anybody else.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Craig.
Just add something first.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I'd like to say that when we passed it, it was for 16 spaces, and at that time, we were told that the peer committee said that would be enough, or I'm sorry, the parking committee, that would be enough to handle the ones that had responded. So I guess, I don't know, there should be a way to tell who the ones were that responded originally and give them to them. I don't know. There's no easy answer on this one, because everyone maybe knows I think it was a bad idea in the first place, but I'm just adding my 2 cents.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Coleman.
the way I see it is that somebody might have got tipped off earlier than others. The restaurants in the Llama, the Hyena, and the other places, and throughout this whole thing, they weren't very cooperative about it. But I think at the end, they realized that they would like some spaces, especially since their special parking plackets have gone in the wind. I think the fair way would have been, you put it out there and whoever responds first gets one. The second one responds, gets the next one, and you go on down to the line. And then when you don't have anybody, you start at the first one again, and then they get it. And I get it. Drippy's has been wanting this since day one. They have been a big proponent of it. But I just like to be fair. So I think that's the way it should be done. You know, Drippy's gets the first one, they responded first. I think Perry's gets the next one, and then whoever responded next gets it. And in the second round, Perry's is already done, so we don't have to worry about him anymore. Another point, this has been a big issue since other councils have let those restaurants build without any parking. We built that. We paid for it, that gravel parking lot, so that people could, we have it. No one was using it, so we decided let's let the restaurants use it. I mean, if you went down there last weekend, it's packed. It's packed. Having said that, we had a system in there which nobody ever used. And that was, I think it's still in the books.
It is.
That you can buy a monthly sticker or a monthly pass, and you're allowed to park on that one, and also along Surfside Drive with that. If we need extra spots, I'd say no more in that parking lot, but let's designate Yaw Pond as a permit for employees parking. It's closer than the gravel parking lot. It's in the same vicinity, and it has 10 to 12 spots there. And there's all your parking that you needed. Have a combination of the gravel parking lot and also have,
Along Yopon.
I mean, because we didn't know it was gonna be this big. And it's big, because you were down there, I mean, last Memorial Day weekend, the houses were only half full. And it was packed. I went down and counted spaces along the beach at 3 o'clock. There was maybe 10 spaces left between the Holiday Inn and Melody. We can't accommodate everyone. That's basically the moral of the story is, but we need to try to get adequate parking for some of the employees. And I think it should be done fairly. You know, Drippy's, I know, they wanted it from day one. But them grabbing, 30% of the parking spaces in that lot, yeah, that's a bit much. Thank you.
All right, but just to clarify, Drippy's has 6 already.
Drippy's has 6, Perry's has 2.
So we're not undoing that. I mean, they played by the rules.
They've already paid
Yeah,
their money.
right. So, the motion on the table now is to split the remaining 8, 2 per business. Is there any other discussion? And I guess as you guys just discussed, the Yopon is still on the books, so
It's,
they didn't get enough?
it's $20 a month. They can buy a parking permit for $20 a month, but it's an employee buying it. It's not the business. This is the business buying parking spaces. And to my knowledge, we've never sold a $20. It's been there for years, and it's still there by mistake. Well, I won't say mistake. We overlooked it when we were talking about all the parking stuff, but it's in there.
So, but a business could certainly step up and pay that if they wish to.
If they wish to.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Coleman?
you'd have to put your park back in as a permit lot. Right now, it's free range for anyone. Anybody who gets there early enough parks for free.
Oh, you're saying we have to sign it, put signage up for
Put
that?
signage up and designate that as a permit parking only, only for employees, not for the general public.
Okay, so it's still on the books, but there's no signage, so we'd have to address that part of it. Okay. All right, well, we have a motion. I'll repeat it once more. Each business gets, each of the 4 businesses, the 3 petting zoo, as they like to say, restaurants plus Neil and Pam's, we get 2 spaces apiece. That's what's on the table. Any other discussion? Ms. Medina?
Mr. Kinkin,
No,
Mr. Coleman,
No.
Mr. Kreckloff,
No,
Mr. Stamey,
No,
Mr. Walls,
No.
Mayor Kraus.
I would say yes, because I don't know what else to do, so I'm gonna still say that, but we are left with nothing right now, so we have, it's a motion failed 5-1. So we have 8 spaces that are not going anywhere right now, I guess, unless we'll have to give Pivot direction, right? I mean, Pivot's managing this for us?
Yes, that's
Collecting the fee?
right now, it's still first come, first served. I mean, if somebody wants it from Neil and Pam's, they can go get them and buy all 8 right now. if they want to.
Okay, so that's what we have on, that's the policy we have now, unless somebody wants to make another motion on this.
I don't know what else to do. I mean, I know Neil and Pam wanted last year. The other 3 businesses did not want any. They did not respond. When we went back after it was approved, all 4 of them wanted some. So
I suppose whatever business is listening to the meeting right now gets the advantage, so, that's where we are. That's what we voted, so. Okay, that concludes our regular business. So we'll move on to item number 9, public comments on any town services or business conducted.
Good evening, Ron Ott, Seventh Avenue North. Gonna raise the millage now from 4 to 6, you might as well bring it back at first reading, because that's what you have to do. So you're not approving anything again, and I guess this is one of the worst times to raise the highest millage ever in this town since the 70s, when inflation was as high as it is now. So if that's who you people are, like those seats. The other thing is that people coming, maybe 5 people at the most will come at late at night to fish. Put up a sign and say, we're closed, go to Garden City, 3 miles down, they'll let you come in free. We're not friendly anymore here. Okay, because that's what you did. We're not friendly. How about letting people that are like 80 years old have a free pass too, that are residents of the town? I'm not 80. Let them have free pass too. You guys just got all free passes, annual pass. You get a W-2, you're an employee. Yeah, you get free passes. Everybody, and that doesn't mean that you're going to take that pass and use it. You can give it to your neighbor and let them go. Which everybody does with the passes anyhow. It's not the same person. You don't put a picture on that little thing, do you? Or maybe tattoo something that can't take it off. But this is, you're hovering over little tiny things, you know? And I know it's tough. It is tough. But you do have that parking committee. You do have that peer committee. Send all the stuff right over to them. Let them come back with the ideas. You're not run by these committees. These committees give you ideas, and that's what you do. Send them out. Don't grovel about it. Send it right away. And get your ideas. We'll be all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Just a couple. Rod Schilling, S2 golf cars, 220 Oakdale Pond as well. Just one comment on the whole parking fiasco with the gravel lot. Just remember, it was solicited, the two businesses. Had I been at the meeting and heard that it was actually first come, first serve, I could have ran down to Zach and Neil and Pam and said, buy all 16. You guys would have all thought, what a crappy thing to do. Now you got 6 young girls up at Drippy's, they gotta walk to their cars, spread out all over the county. That was not what was intended. You guys are making a decision that's either gonna make the parking committee look good or really, really bad. Remember that. 2, 2, 2, and 2 doesn't make it work. Add parking spots, get these guys what they need, if that's what you do, and then change it next year. You wanna give everybody what was asked for on what we went out and solicited or asked for, then that's the perfect way to do it. Next year, you can pull it back to 16. That's my opinion on it. The other thing is golf carts. That's my business. Low-speed vehicles, you can drive at night. You can drive more than 4 miles from your house. They have all the safety equipment. They go faster. We all know this. Recently, it's been known that now if you have a golf cart that goes 19 miles an hour or less, doesn't necessarily have lights or turn signals or brakes or seat belts or anything like that on it, you can drive it during daylight hours only. But daylight hours, as pointed out to me from the state, and really, I mean, we sell low-speed vehicles, so this doesn't affect me a lot, but it does affect a lot of people in town. They've got daylight hours as written in state law as being 6 o'clock a.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. during the summer. During the winter, 6 to 6. I just want to point out that we have an overzealous police officer, so, you know, that likes to get tickets at 8:01 or 8:06 or whatever it is, when it's still daylight out. But remember, that same that same officer is probably gonna have to not give a ticket to somebody on September 30th that at 7:09 will be or at 7:36 will be pitch black. It'll already be way past. I'm a hunter, I'm a fisherman. Most people know what daylight is and dusk. Sun up, or a half hour before the sun comes up to a half hour after the sun goes down is usually the ability to shoot a rifle in the woods, but we can't drive a golf cart at that time. It was not intended that way. All I'm saying is, we usually follow state law, but you guys, as council of the town of Surfside, still have the ability to bring a mistake, the way it was written. It's not right. It's not what was intended. What was intended was for golf carts to be able to drive during daylight hours. We are opening up a can of worms here because we're gonna have people driving in the pitch black, whether it's in the morning or in the evening. All it has to do is we just have to let it be known, what is daylight hours? And if daylight hours, if they're dead set against this, somebody needs to point out to them that those are not always daylight hours. Time changes every single day. And people are not idiots. I realize that some people in higher up positions want to think we are, and that we can't figure out what daylight or what dawn and dusk are, but we can. All they gotta do is write it right. And I think it was a mistake. All it needs to do is be brought up. And I think you guys can help. I mean, you probably have somebody over in the state that you guys get a hold of and say, maybe this needs to be brought up and looked at. Anyway, thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comments? All right, seeing none, we're gonna move on to town council discussion and our comments. I'm going to start with Mr. Walls.
Oh, just wanted to thank everybody for coming out and for signing in and listening and watching and contributing. Thanks for everybody that approached the podium to help us. It's a privilege to serve. It was a privilege being around here this weekend. It was really cool to see the town start up for the season. And we'll look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.
Mr. Coleman.
Well, thank everybody for coming out. Had a little meeting with the new chief. I observed a lot of the officers in the past week or so, and much more friendly atmosphere. Getting out of the cars, talking to people, more of a community policing instead of strictly enforcement kind of patrol. I had some ideas, he was receptive to some of it, he had some great ideas himself. And it brings back a little bit more of the family beach, the friendly beach. Having said that though, is to try to squeeze a couple extra bucks out of somebody on the pier because they got there a little late. It's not a friendly family kind of thing. I really don't like that at all. How much more money do you think we're gonna get for a couple of people who wanna fish? Don't like it at all. And wait for tomorrow because it's gonna be all over Facebook. People do not like this town. And it's mostly people who don't live here, but they use all our amenities. I mean, if you went to the golf cart parade yesterday, it was packed. And I bet 90% of the people were from out of town. I'm not talking about out of town as in tourists, out of town as in across 17. They were all out of beaches. There was no spots for us. No, I don't mind sharing our beautiful town, but they trash on us all the time. And I don't want to give them any more fodder for that. I mean, we're gonna take another hit for this, for a couple of bucks. And I really don't like that feeling. This is a great, great town, a great place to live. It's called the Family Beach. And I don't know, the next thing you're gonna hear probably, well, we gotta pay for the pier, we gotta charge people to go on it. I don't wanna see that either. I really don't. We made mistakes. I don't think we should punish the people who wanna use it. because we made mistakes. But we get through most of this stuff, and it'll get better. I don't want a big celebration on that pier, another $60,000-$90,000. Don't like it. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Stamey?
Thanks for everybody coming out. I am going to address this raising the millage rate. If anybody's keeping up with this town, they know that it's costing more than the millage rate we raised it to. It costs more for our employees than we are getting from the revenue of this town. Raise our millage rate up a little bit more, it's going to cost everybody maybe $20 more at the most. Will pay for a whole lot of stuff in this town, who are sitting right over here beside Ugly, that needs more money to fund them. So wherever we get it, do we go out, we don't grow trees that grow money. The only place that we have a problem of getting money is from us, the residents. I am part of this resident. I made a mistake a while ago. I was misunderstanding, or I'd have made it tonight. And you're probably right when you said it'll have to go back for first reading when I make the motion. If it passes, it might not pass. But if it passes, it probably will have to go back for first reading because it will be a big significant change. That's on me. I take responsibility for something that I did tonight because I made the mistake of just thinking we were voting on what Mr. Crockwell had put in front of us. That's my part. If you want to keep this town where it's at for the facilities that we got of getting police protection, getting fire department, we've got to pay for it. The county ain't going to come in here and give us no money. We're going to have to get it. There's no other way of getting it except from the people who live here in this town. If you want to keep it. If you don't, then raise Cain about your taxes and what you're going to be paying, because it can go away. We can't, as this body up here sits and talks. If this fire department out here does not have the staff and the personnel and be able to hire these people, it's going away. Horry County will gladly come back here and take it. If we can't pay for it, they ain't going to pay us to do it. Well, I'm just telling everybody, this millage rate thing should have been passed many years ago. This is an ongoing thing that everybody wants to raise Cain about and fuss about, but our millage rates need to be comparable to what we're living under today's circumstances. It's not enough money. We ain't bringing in enough money on our millage rates to pay our employees their salaries, believe it or not. We have to reach into a special fund to get money to pay our employees. We don't pay them. We get it out of a special fund to get money. So that was on me. That was on me tonight. I'm apologizing to everyone that's here because I am going to bring it up again. And I hope this council listens really well about how we need more money than what we've got. We also need a court chamber for this town. It's got to be funded somehow or another. We've got to have a police department a little bit bigger than what it is for more people. It's got to be funded from somewhere. Where's that money coming from? So everybody think about this. If you want this stuff to happen, somebody's got to pay for it. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, Mr. Crockwell.
Well, thanks to everyone that takes an interest in their local government. And with that being said, I urge everyone to contact their representatives at the state, Mr. Guest and Mr. Goldfinch, I believe it is, to ask about changing what is daylight hours as far as driving is concerned, because we can't have a different ordinance that is weaker than the state ordinance or state laws. And in order to change it, it has to be changed at the state level. And the way that happens is, yes, we can contact them. We maybe have just a little bit more clout. I don't think I do, but some of them up here maybe do. But what really counts is when the citizens start contacting them and saying, we need to change this. So I urge everyone to do that. With that, I'll see you next time. Good night.
Mr. Kincaid.
I want to thank everybody for being here. And I hope there are a lot of people listening in. I talked to a couple today that came to the Sunday serenade. They were telling another couple how much fun they had and invited them. They don't live here. They live across the road, but they said, you need to come because it's a great music, a lot of fun. I kind of agree with Mr. Stamey. We tried to raise millage last year, 4 mills to pay for 4 firemen. We need to pay our salaries out of tax money, not hospitality, not a tax, because that could go away. We could have a hurricane in July. What are we going to do? Lay them off because we didn't tax enough money to pay the salaries? I hope that never happens, but we are very dependent upon hospitality and a tax to make our budget work. I hope Mrs. Gruber agrees with me, but from what I see of the numbers, our property tax should pay for our staff. They do a wonderful job. They work every day. The first responders are great. John's people are great. Our town hall, you go in there, they're the friendliest people you've ever wanted to meet. There's a lot of good things going on. The worst thing we could do is something happen and we have to say, well, we can't afford to pay you, even though we have reserves, but you can't run a business off reserves. You can't pay your mortgage out of savings. You can for a short period of time, but it doesn't. Eventually you have to make enough money to pay your mortgage. And that's kind of the same way we're in. That's the way I look at it anyway. It's simplistic. I really hate that we got in this position on the 16 parking spaces, because when we started talking about it, it was a great idea, and now it's a albatross. It just hasn't worked out the way we thought it would. We're trying to do something for the businesses, and we just stepped on it. And I take responsibility for a lot of it. With that being said, speak to your first responders when you see them. They're doing a wonderful job for us. The guys that you see from John, let them know that you appreciate the work they do. And if you go into town hall, let them know you appreciate it. We live in a great town, and we all know we live in a great town, or we wouldn't be here. So with that said, have a great week, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right, thank you. I'm going to move on. First, I will talk about the daylight hours. I made the exact same analogy. I used to hunt, and you had to be deep in the woods and be able to shoot a half hour before sunrise or a half hour after sunset. Does seem kind of, it makes the golf cart comparison ridiculous, but it is the state definition, and we are kind of stuck with that now. So I would echo, what Mr. Grecklaw said, write to your representatives, and we can do the same. I also want to lean on our committees. We appointed them for a reason, so I'd like the parking committee to still look at this. I realize the spaces could be bought by tomorrow morning, but, study this, kick it around, see what even in retrospect, what might have been done. And it might give us guidance for next year. That is one reason that I voted specifically for 1 year on this as a trial basis. Same with the peer committee. I want them to take it up, look at these fishing hours, and they're living, breathing this stuff. So let them kick it around and bring a recommendation. I want to move on. Thanks to everybody who attended the Memorial Day Parade and the ceremony. I think it was a great show of community support, and it was a great job from the event staff, the KSBB volunteers, Public Works, and the police force. Everybody did a great job. I'm sure I'm leaving somebody out, but it was great. We just completed chapter 2 and 4, and we've got a lot more work to do on ordinances. And I think we're gonna be doing a whole lot more of that through the second half of this year. I'm looking forward to that. And one of the things, that we did through the pay issue, and we're working on the budget, but Mr. Krecklau has already stepped up to look at a step pay plan. So I'm looking forward to what he brings to the table on that. We talked some about our facilities, and they're gonna take money. They've been neglected too long. Floral Clubhouse, this building, the police station is just too small, and now we've got Huckabee. I don't know what we're gonna do about this stuff, but we have a lot of work to do on that too. I'm pleased to hear that the fire department is getting some responses, some applications in, and I wanna see what that does. 7 full-time firefighters takes a lot of money as well. 5 part-time, same thing. I like what I'm hearing from Interim Chief Davis. I know he's working on right-sizing the force, some community policing, getting people into town, not so much on Business 17. And I know he's looking at, in right-sizing, maybe being able to spread the same amount of money that we're spending on the force today on fewer employees. And that's basically just eliminating the 2 frozen ones. And I really enjoyed the opportunity I had with the police force before Memorial Day weekend, in the midst of, between the bike weeks, as they brought in some outside agencies to work with us, to be able to have dinner with them and just kind of chat a little bit, see what their perspective is. So it's all looks good to me. Last thing I want to say is that next meeting is Monday, June 10th, and that's because June 11th is election day. And because we passed chapter 2, it's at 6 o'clock. So it's going to get posted on the town website, it's going to be posted on Facebook, and people are going to show up at 6:30 anyway and say, what happened? So spread the word, please tell everybody that we made that change. And I think that's really all I got right now, so I want to just thank all the attendees and all the online viewers, and we'll see you Monday, June 10th at 6 p.m. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Mayor.
You guys want to sit here? Mr. Krecklau.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion, meeting adjourned. Yeah.